2030, a conference cycle based on the road to a more sustainable and climate resilient Mediterranean. Today's dialogue will be about environmental activism in the southern and eastern Mediterranean region, the role of the youth as driver of change. As we know, as the climate emergency has been intensifying over the last years, more and more young people have been raising their voice to demand stronger climate and environmental action in the name of global justice. Inspired by the example set by Greta Thunberg and other young activists who launched the Fridays for Future movement, young people from many countries in the world have been marching in the streets to urge action from public authorities on an issue that directly affects them in the long term. Making a strategic use of their moral authority and social media networks to mobilize their fellows, they have succeeded in making their voice heard, engaging with population and influential the global, national, and local climate agenda, to the point that they are now considered a powerful drivers of change. The Mediterranean region has been no exception in the rise of youth climate environmental activism. From Rabat to Athens, passing by Marseille, Tunis, or Barcelona, young Mediterranean activists have been taking the streets to denounce the lack of action to address the climate crisis in a region particularly vulnerable to the climate change and environmental degradation. Beyond demonstrations with media coverage, they have been at the forefront of a growing grassroots movement, creating associations, organizations, and networks connecting youth activists across both shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Understanding the role of youth as drivers of change is crucial to develop an approach from associating young activists to the policy-making process, while taking advantage of their energy to mobilize the society towards the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. It is equally essential to understand the challenge they are facing to empower them as important actors of the public debate in the countries of the Mediterranean region where they are not considered as such. To discuss about this topic, today we have with us Mrs. Hajar Kamlici. Mrs. Kamlici is a climate and environmental and sustainable expert. She has 13 years of experience in water operation. Besides, Hajar has a vital role in the civil society movement development. She is the president and co-founder of the Mediterranean Youth Climate Network, considered by the Union for the Mediterranean one of the 10 success stories of the last 10 years of the region. The network represents 22 Mediterranean countries and consists of NGOs and youth movements who work in the climate action and sustainable development. In addition to Hajar's work, she has an extended experience in raising awareness among decision makers, both of local and international level. She also joined Carbon as the Mediterranean coordinator to monitor and promote city sustainability, and had been appointed recently as the executive director for the Mediterranean Climate House. So today we have Hajar with us. It will be a pleasure listening to her, and afterwards we will have a Q&A with the audience. Hajar, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Michael, for the kind introduction. Well, as you said, over 60% of the population in the Mediterranean region is under the age of 30. The Euro-Mediterranean is one of the youngest regions in the world, and too often youth are left out of the processes that shape their futures. Participation is part of the process of the empowerment of young people. Nevertheless, societies often do not view young people as indispensable contributors to policy formulation, evaluation, and implementation. In recent years, some governments have taken significant steps in promoting a place for youth in decision-making. And a greater involvement of youth in the home, school, and community will not only benefit their socio-economic environments, but also their own capacity and personal development. Participations must be seen as a means and an end. Also, an active and informed participation by young people is not only consistent with, but also demanded by the rights-based approach worldwide. Therefore, the voices and contributions of the youth are crucial for the effective implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreements, as recognized in the preamble of the Paris Agreements, which reaffirms the intergenerational equity as a guiding principle shaping climate action. However, we believe that the voice of young people is not yet fully heard in policymaking processes, as it is not so easy for youth to be consulted by governments. Despite so much at stake, global governance is in crisis and is failing to respond to the political, economical, social, and environmental breakdown throughout the world, with international institutions who are unable to act with the speed, urgency, and gravity needed. At the same time, we have never had so much civil society organization mobilized, individuals and campaign movements with the skills, experience, and finance needed to champion, deliver, and evaluate societal change. Youth and civil society organizations seem able to foster transformative innovation by and through their actions and participation in social and policy processes. Nevertheless, to achieve the climate neutrality objective by 2015, it is essential to go for a local approach. Local and regional authorities are as well as civil society, are in the best position to know and assess the needs of their territories so as to cope with their vulnerabilities and provide the necessary tools to implement their roadmaps. Though youth participation itself can cost time and money in the short run, the process will result in activities that are based upon issues facing youth and upon their understanding on the environmental and societal problems, and will be therefore more relevant to the needs of their generation. Their participation can lead to better targeting of benefit to youth, the group that can best identify the impacts of certain specific laws or policies. It can also help to secure the sustainability of activities as the primary stakeholders and will be more invested in their momentum, therefore. Youth participation may range from consulting and consensus building to partnership, evaluation, and management. And I think this is the right evolution for the participatory approach and youth engagement in decision making. Institutions should provide mechanisms for youth to participate in deliberations on policy and to help guide and set priorities within such discussions. Youth should be engaged not just with governments or in policy making, but in all aspects of society, setting the stage for their continued participation throughout adulthood. Young people are getting so much attention, said by Michael on presentation. Uh, and this attention it is drawing more young people into the movement. The role of youth participants, those aged from 16 to 24 years at the United Nations climate negotiations, has revealed that adults perceive these activists as having greater moral integrity than others attending the talks because they are not being paid to be there, and mostly young climate protesters don't represent someone else's agenda. Their message is strikingly direct. They can say a lot of things that older activists can't say. They don't have filters that adults might have. But several youth in the southern Mediterranean region face challenges. One of the main challenges faced by youth in the southern eastern Med region is the current political situation in many countries, no doubt, which makes going out full on very difficult. Another challenge is bringing together youth from several countries to discuss and agree on regional subjects using predominantly online tools is very difficult. Moreover, much capacity building and training is needed within the regional and national CSOs to help run things more efficiently. Nevertheless, in the South, the Arab governments are surprised with Arab youth participation in the worldwide movements against climate change, and some countries and some governments stay prudent and vigilant. So we all are working to build a trust relationship with them. On the other hand, much things are happening on the internet governance. Little of it involves young people. However, youth may be perceived as the starting point for movements on social media. Younger people, moreover, are more inclined to become involved in social media as they are the more frequent users of these tools. So having quick worldwide lines of communication and predominantly involving young people is exactly how social media should be used, especially for effective activism. Involvement in social media builds support and creates a network of partners for important issues. Therefore, it has the capacity to have an impact within political and legal systems. The intention of social media is to engage with people outside of these political and legal systems, but it has the capacity to have an impact within them. Social media, if used effectively, has the ability to put pressure on and influence governments. These tools offer people a chance to gain a perspective on issues in other nations, and it allows people to become involved in means of communications often perceived as controlled by mainstream and elite media outlets. It is important that young movements spread the right message, hit their target groups, and understand development levels for social media activity. And this is an important or severe problem within the social media campaigns so far. There is a danger that online activism could slow down the movements as a result of loss of interest. And it is important to understand that while youth may have the skills to involve themselves in such forms of activism on social media, it is also imperative that the means of social media be used properly in order to work effectively. And young people really believe in the issues they are standing for, and then they can attempt to gain support for these movements even when interest seems to be fading. So really, youth can be the driving force to keep the interest virtually going on, or also not just virtually, but also in the field or in the ground, real life ground. The future of how effective youth involvement in social media can be really depends on the level of interaction between the public and these social media tools. So activism and awareness raising is a long-term fight, no doubt, even through social media, and must be kept up in an effort to engage younger audiences and prepare them for future involvements. I think the transformation may very well start with youth. It may be wishful thinking, but I believe that a critical mass from the youth movement could blaze a new path forward for others to follow. Of course, that will require all those who are willing to go beyond reading and supporting this through social media, although is great as well, to step forward to lead this change in the in the ground. I was gonna say in the real life, in the ground life. Especially for the younger generation, the interest is not some stand-alone, separate domain, uh, because the internet is it's where the lives are, it's where lives functions are carried out. It's not merely our post office or our telephone. Rather, it is the epicenter of our world. the place where virtually everything is done. It is where friends are made, where books and films are chosen, where political activism is organized, where the most private data is created and stored. It is where we develop and express our very personality and sense of self. Many youth do not see a connection between politics and their daily realities. However, this does not mean that they are not interested in their futures. A process of building trust may be initiated when young people have increased access to the decision-making process. Young people can emerge from such exposure with increased self-esteem, better communication skills, and better knowledge about their communities and effective leadership. Such opportunities are likely to arise in community level activities, and youth are more likely to flourish within an institutional framework of representative local governments. Research has shown that most youth have a strong desire to actively engage with their communities, but know little about the decision making process. By knowing more about the political system, young people will be better equipped to identify, support, and monitor the election of candidates who press for economic progress, social justice, and peace. And well, climate action and the energy transition also presents an opportunity to youth to apply their skills to take on new roles as energy professionals, decision makers, entrepreneurs, and leaders in order to overcome the renewable energy knowledge gap between developing and developed countries that continues to increase, and the gender disparities in the field. All of this happening as equity and equality becomes the more prevalent topic in the world so far. However, this requires governments and industries to prioritize skill building for youth, women, and marginalized groups. Education serves as the foundation to continue to develop the necessary skills, and governments must guide skills training to meet the needs their societies, such as transition into clean energy. And for this reason, renewable studies should be an integral component of modern curricula, as well as sustainability. This generation of young people has also proven to be innovative, entrepreneurial, and well versed in technological know how. Considering the undoubtedly important role that young people have already played in solving challenges to advance the transition through entrepreneurship and innovation, governments should facilitate this further by helping local startups compete with international developers and provide microcredits to them. Moreover, energy clubs, climate energy hackathons, youth energy awards, mentorship, call for proposals, incubators, accelerators, etc., are needed to support their developments. Apprenticeships and internships and entry-level positions are needed to build skills through the work experience to youth. Uh, Meanwhile, there are some successful examples of youth climate and environmental movements in the Mediterranean region. I'm just going to shed the light on one of them, who was led by a community-led initiative named Rise 2020. This project was the winner who won the United Nations 2020 Global Climate Action Award, and it was the initiative Rise 2030 focuses on empowering women and youth, aiming at capacity building and improving living conditions through access to education and employment. The Rise 2030 launched the first all-women solar team in Lebanon to challenge the gender stereotypes in the male-dominated construction sector. In this context, 13 female trainees installed a solar system at a waste sorting and material recovery facility in Karawan. The project was implemented in the Federation of Al Buhaira municipality, which serves more than 18 municipalities around the Karawan Lake. The community members were trained and educated to design and install a non-grid solar photovoltaic system that would cover 100% of the facility's daily need for power. And later, a second team installed a solar tree in the public garden. In addition, the management team leading these projects is composed of mostly women, with a total of 147 women involved and benefiting from the activities. They are mostly all young women under 14 or 35. The projects also helped female-led small businesses prepare and sell their rural processed food through the women's associations of the town. The project was hailed as a national success in Lebanon as the first all-women team in solar energy. And finally, youth organizations can build on the strength of their territories in order to turn challenges into opportunities when place-based strategies are disposed and implemented. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm giving you back the floor to Miguel.
Thank you, Hajar. A very interesting presentation. It's clear that the youth are a strong movement with a very critical opinion that is very healthy for democratic societies, and we need them. We need to use them. And I would like to start the Q&A with a question. You were pointing the challenges that youth are facing, especially in South Mediterranean countries. The ones about the current political situation, the challenge to being together, the capacity and building and training, the capacity building and training necessities. But beyond that, how do they act, youth people in society, where the participation to the public debate is locked, and where at the same time climate change is not a topic? This kind of societies where there's this double wall, how they are able to raise their voice about this topic. I think that this is something that might be interesting to know from the audience. And another topic, another question, I'm going to show you, throw you another question, and then I'll give you the time to answer them. Don't worry. Another question is about greenwashing. You know, greenwashing, 2030 agenda, it's seen by part of the society as a tool for corporate companies to do greenwashing, to be able to present themselves as more sustainable. And this is something that affects the agenda, the repetition of the agenda, the 2030 agenda, of the SDGs, and especially on young people. And because they might be more critics, and then they feel that this agenda is not as fair as it should be. How do you think we can overcome this feeling about how can we, despite the work that the corporate companies can do, but how do you think we can find this perception of greenwashing from corporate companies, this perception from the young people?
And thank you for both questions. Well, yes, it is really difficult for the youth in the locked societies to express their views liberally and without pressure. I know that they feel frustrated. They are frustrated, and even with the climate challenges are now taking place, and we testify of the impacts all over the world, not just the regions of the country. But yes, how they feel, they are frustrated, and they are like restricted action. Their actions as restricted for sure, but their only way to skip this is the social media. They are making their way to social media. The different social media are now opening these windows to discuss and to campaign. Some of them use of course their organizations. Some of them don't have the right to implement formal organizations at all. They don't have the right to, they can't go to be authorized to establish an association. So they are working more in informal, non-formal networks. Through social media they deliver their messages. Now with the launch of the clubhouse also, I remarked that many youth from the south med region are extremely active, and the discussion is really bold than what they can say uh, at formal manifestations or events. So they try to skip it in that way. But the problem, as I was discussing earlier, the social media is like the great and wonderful invention that freed the views and the opinion, and it was most inclusive way for everybody, youth and all civil society and everywhere. But it is also can be controlled, and this risk of people like losing the motivation, the momentum that we feel when we are gathering in person, when all these people who gather the same views are exchanging in person, in human exchanges. This energy, uh, it's let them give them the strength to come forward, to take forward actions. In social media we can testify their actions. We can testify on waves actions, campaigns, ways where people are really excited and fervent on certain subjects. Then this wave, because the wave in social media is not always clear and free, we're always gonna find other uh, other contradictory currents that will make sure to fade this energy. So anyway, this is the challenge felt and lived during these communities, as you asked. To talk about on the second question, yes, actually you just touches on a point. Not only youth, I have been exposed to that question once by citizens, communities. We were having an exchange, a dialogue between some citizens and CSOs, and we were talking about the SDGs and the 2013 agenda, that some of them wasn't aware of it. But within the discussion, some of people were having this thought that this is like just for big corporates to show they are doing well for the world, and also for high politicians to pass their political mandate in a shiny way. But it is not really effective. We had that strong debate toward it to make them change their mind, because we need to just open the perspective for the youth and all the citizens on what it is, this agenda, this sustainable development agenda, how people need to know how it came and how it started at the beginning. And when we have a deep analysis on the 17 SDGs, and they go for which interests they are going, and the topics that these SDGs are making emerge, topics that wasn't really emerged in a lot of countries, in lots of societies. They weren't even subject to discussion for people, or either for their local governments or national governments. So we're having these awareness raising campaigns to really discuss in deeper way, maybe changing these views, because you know what problem, because we are always shed lighting and spotlighting the how the commitments of some private sector in the sustainable development, and I see they have good contribution within their CSR, corporate social responsibility framework for those who adheres to it, but they are like not a single player. This is like a big match, who everybody is a player, and the youth can have like the defensive the defensive players of the match. I saw in Morocco we have an association here which names the Youth for Sustainable Development. Those youth are really sympathetic and nice. They were doing a great effort raising awareness among youth, among their peers, and they succeeded to vulgarize little this agenda and SDGs 17 SDGs. Meanwhile, there is a lot of people, a lot of youth that are not aware of it. They don't know it and don't know, moreover, what is the climate action about. So this is just as to say that we have to work all on it. This is a responsibility for civil society to raise awareness, but also decision makers and policies to invest more in this outreach to people and the youth.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting, Hajar. We have several questions from the audience. So, and I have some other questions from myself, but I will leave it later. Just let me jump into one question from the audience. The question is the following one. Do you perceive differences between environmental activism between the north and the south of the Mediterranean? How do they complement each other? And what can environmental activists from the two shores of the Mediterranean can learn from each other?
Well, yes, there is some few differences between the environmental activism from southern to northern shores, and it was uh, uh, stronger. The difference was stronger at the big and few years, 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I think with the years, the difference is disappearing slowly. But in the southern Mediterranean, we can remark activism with locally led projects. People are focused. They really want to have solutions to their daily problems, and they don't really focus on environmental policies. They don't go towards advocacy to see the source of the problems. This is very important, where they are mobilizing and trying to find solutions, which is amazing. But they lack this part of environmental advocacy. They don't go for it so easily. I was remarking at the beginning of me being involved, my involvement in civil society, environmental civil society engagement, and the transnational cooperation with other civil societies. I remarked this difference because my colleagues from the north were really focused on the advocacy, and I think we learned a lot from them in this part, how to deliver advocacy in climate and environmental issues, and they were less on the topics projects on the ground than what was their colleagues in the southern. I think we need each other. This collaboration and cooperation is essential and very important and enriching, because everyone or every sector or region has his own challenges and specifications and climate related issues, but this support from different organizations can go forward for a better regional future. If you can speak on Mediterranean, we need the three of them. We need we need strong advocacy in the south, stronger advocacy in the south, and we need big support of the local ground projects and solution presented by this ground. So the future of activism is in this way. It's all about sharing the expertise, uh, empowering this youth, and strengthening the advocacy part.
Okay, yeah, that it's very interesting to see this difference between the needs from the south and the needs from the north. No? The more clear need of exactly clear examples that give solutions in the south and maybe in the north with more advocacy solutions. And it's interesting to having these two dimensions. I will jump to another question from the audience. And you mentioned, Hajar, that young leaders do not have filters, so that they can raise up their voice with no prejudices, right?
The younger ones.
The younger ones, right? Yes, I think about my kids, and I think that the younger one, it's clearly without filters. So, however, how do you assess those critical voices who are against the inclusion of young leaders in policy making cycles due to their short age? Are indeed young climate activists capacities enough to inform and influence policy discussions?
If well organized, yes. Of course, we are not going to say that um, a random young girl or boy who is really interested in the thematic will do the discussion, the political discussion with decision maker and convince him. Otherwise, it will convince him with his emotional intake. To have yes, if they are well organized and in certain structures where their capacities are built, where they are coached well, yes. And I think there are now few gatherings of youth that are really impressive, but they worked with their peers, they worked a lot with their peers to attain this level. To not say that they have to open to open the door for the youngest one. I'm gonna say this early 20s maybe, or late teenagers, to talk, to have this discussion, and it will be enriching in both parts, because politicians sometimes need to see themselves in the mirror of these youth who are sitting in front of them sometimes, and let's trust them. They need to give them trust these youth. They are as we said, more driven by their own wills, by the moral will, not by any other agendas or political will of any parts.
Okay, thank you. I have several more questions. One it's very specific and it goes like this. Which countries from the Mediterranean region possess the major number of grassroots climate organizations led by youth? And
Sorry,
how,
I couldn't hear well.
sorry, which countries from the Mediterranean region possess the major number of grassroots climate organizations led by youth?
Led by
Very,
youth.
very specific question.
Yes, led by youth. It is difficult to say led by youth. I'm gonna give you examples. Mainly, I'm gonna go from the civil society, then speak on the youth. In the south, the question about the southern Mediterranean, yes. In the southern Mediterranean region, there are problems to gather NGOs in a lot of countries. There is problem to, as I said earlier, I insist on it, to establish an association or NGO in a country. So in some countries, I'm gonna talk about Morocco because this is the unique. We have this unique experience on having the Moroccan Alliance for Climate and Sustainable Development, which gathers more than 800 CSOs, environmental CSOs, purely environmental CSOs. Among these 800, there are a lot of youth-led associations and NGOs. Okay. In Jordan, we have an alliance for environmental NGOs that gathers around, I think, 100 or 18 or something, 90, 98, something like this, NGOs. Among this alliance, there are youth-led organizations. I can tell the same thing about Cairo or Tunisia or Libya or Lebanon or other countries. I just have these two examples with big alliances of NGOs are present and have an impact with policymakers, and they are involved in decision-making process. There is also the CAN Arab World, the Climate Action Network Arab World. This is the node from the Climate Action Network International, which is the wider network for climate action in the world. It has more than 1,600 NGOs, but the Arab node contains 130 NGO. Okay, among those one, there are a few, not too much. A few of them are youth, but so far, we can have youth network, national youth networks within for sustainable development, but it's just keep the sphere of action is not very big. Okay, so far at the MYCN, we were trying to gather this youth, trying to gather mainly the youth associations working on climate, environmental, and sustainable development. And we have a good representation, but we know that we can have much more representation, really much more of it. Just if if there was a good support to meet people in person, to go to outreach these NGOs, these associations. In Sudan, for example, there was recently a really good will from some youth organizations. They started to be very active. They are having interesting dialogues with policy makers. I think the Climate Action Tracker was supporting them. So as one of the first initiatives, I can cite a lot of initiatives on that south, but to say what is the biggest network of environmental youth-led organizations, that's a very difficult question to answer and give a name.
Okay. So I will try to. I know. Sorry, this question might be a little bit complicated, but so let's jump to another one that maybe it's more easy to answer, and maybe can you tell us more, a little bit more about the Mediterranean Youth Climate Network? How does it work? Who are involved? What are the goals? I think that this is one of the questions of the audience, and I think it would be interesting for them to know it.
Yes, well, the Mediterranean Youth Climate Network is a network that gathers youth-led associations. We were 7 to fund it. So we co-funded this network 7. We were the Moroccan from Morocco, ICN, the Italian Climate Network, Climate International based in France. We the Arab Youth Climate Movement, who's covering mainly the all the Arab world. And Eco Peace Middle East from Palestine, and WECAN, the Women Empowerment Climate Action Network. We gathered in 2016 at the MedCop Clima. It was at the eve of the COP22 in Tangier, at the eve of the COP22 in Morocco, in Marrakesh in 2016. And we organized the first Moroccan Mediterranean Youth Climate Forum. Okay. more than 200 activists and youth activists were present, and it was there was a big momentum, and we decided together to establish this network and to be in the first Mediterranean Youth Climate Network and be and have an impact on at regional level. So we have been, our main missions were on about empowering youth and strengthening the advocacy, sharing expertise. Those are the sharing expertise and supporting the local associations and NGOs who needed support. So we're gonna play this bridge between the NGOs and make like a network of empowerment, that aims to youth empowerment in climate action. So we have been working really hard to establish this network, and we registered the MYCN in Paris in 2018. It was a long breath take because, as we said, it is not easy to manage regional networks and different people from different countries with different views to gather them. So it was a success to register. Then afterward, we started gathering and organizing events during climate action momentums like COPs, COIs, or either territorial climate events. We were establishing workshops together, young associations, young youth discuss the priorities and the orientation of their movements, and trying to give the visibility and the support for those who needed to be visible, to access or to have the help they needed. Actually, we started the call to spread the network. It was last summer. We had a few demands proposed, and I think from here I can call from all other youth organizations interested to jump on board. And because I am really rushed to pass this huge responsibility to other youth. This is my last moment as president. I was president for so long time, and really I need to deliver it to younger generation, and to give it fresher breath to Mediterranean climate action. There is a lot of things to do, and the COVID-19 these 2 years has hindered our work a lot. It affected enormously our work because the virtual gatherings are okay for just to have a talk, to have an exchange, but to discuss on really big matters and have impact, we need to meet. We need to have this human energy to build on it, and taking this fresher bread we all need.
Okay, indeed. The pandemic that we're living right now has been like a stop in our lives and in our activities, and to be honest, at the beginning, I think that at the beginning of the pandemic, we thought that the 2030 agenda and the sustainable topics were not a priority. And they weren't, for sure, because there were the health issues. But I think that now in the next afterwards, we have realized that the 2030 agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals and the sustainable agenda, it's more needed than ever, because the challenges that the pandemic put it in front of us are the ones that we already had. It just changed the priorities. So let me jump into the last question, and then I will let you also the opportunity to give a concluding words. But let me let me move into a more future question. So how do you see the future for for youth and the next generation in a post 2030 Mediterranean? Can you give us some reasons to be optimistic for the future of the Mediterranean as regards of climate change and environment?
Yes, I am. I have to be optimistic. I can't not be. With all the dynamics, in the Mediterranean region, there is very huge dynamic, and as we say in France, un foisonnement, really big dynamic of climate action actors. There are a lot of actors that are working in several parts or in several topics and issues in different perspectives. So after 2013, we will be facing a difficult time. We will be facing these 9 years coming. Will be really really tough uh, on the environmental part and the political on the political level also. Because politics are very challenges too with the whole green recovery systems, with the whole security problems, with all the conflicts happening in the region. But there is a lot of hope because there is a goodwill. We are more than 60% of us in youth in this region. So with our will, if we have strong will and keep on this positive energy to go further, to deliver for our countries, to deliver for our region, of course we are going to have an impact. Of course we're going to have a better after 2013 if we don't do nothing or stop working and just worry about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Hajar. Maybe I give you the opportunity to give some concluding words if you think there's something missing. However, I think it has been a very interesting presentation and food for thoughts that you have given to us. But if you want to give some final words or final messages, please go ahead.
So thank you for having me at first, and thank you for highlighting this topic, the environmental activism and youth in the Southern Mediterranean region. Final message I can have is we need really to strengthen the transnational cooperation. We need to work together, all the North, South, in this Euromed cooperation to have a concrete results very soon in our countries. Youth are key levers, are a treasure for our countries or for our regions. They are need to be oriented, they are need to be supported. So, and to keep them in to attract their attention, because a lot of time we are we are like telling youth you are not interested enough, you are not competent enough, you don't have enough skills to give your view or to go for this thing or this topic. But we need to trust them, to empower the youth, and I think we will see great results. So how we say, on va voir des merveilles on the region. Thank you. It is really an honor for me to have been here. As I said, I cannot talk about the youth and claim I'm one of the youth from now on. But it has been a really passionate journey to spend these 6 years or 5 years and a half and 6 years within the MYCN and having meeting all the impressive young people. I have met also very bad politicians and great and inspiring politicians. I met several diplomats with supportive actions and other with not interest. So this was a very rich journey that I really invite all the youth to get in board, not even for a few years. I know the turnover rate in the youth activism is very high. So you just come, spend few times, and go for other. Either they have professional strong for professional commitments, or they go for other studies, and they tend to lose interests and priorities. So just invite them to keep on, as we did so far the years. We have been managing professional lives, families, kids, and the activism, and it has been very positive at the end. So that would be my ending notes. Thank you again, Mikael.
Thank you, Hajar. Very interesting. And I will keep in mind that we have this 60% of us that are youth, and all the strength that they have, that they have, and we have to use it for a better future for all. Just a few words to thank you, the audience, to thank the audience for all the questions that you have made, very interesting questions. And also to thanks to European Institute of the Mediterranean for organizing these dialogues, and remind you that the fourth dialogue will be on the 22nd of September. The title of the dialogue is On the Road to the COP26 in Glasgow: Climate Diplomacy in the Mediterranean. And we will have the participation of Hakima El Haite, the president of the Liberal International and former minister delegate in charge of the environment, for the Kingdom of Morocco, high-level climate champion of the United Nations International Climate Conference COP22. So I think it's a very interesting dialogue that we'll have after the summer, after the summer holidays that we have this in Spain, and hope that you will enjoy and join us in this future dialogue. Thank you very much, and thank you from the European Institute of the Mediterranean.